Hey, welcome back to Rob's Garage Woodworking. Today we've got the fireplace, and I want to put some ceramics around the fireplace. So what you have to do is kind of decide how you want to lay it out. And what I've decided is I want to have 3 blocks all the way around, and then I'm going to have the wood surround, the mantle, come around that. Alright, so you kind of have to, you see I have all these layout marks, you kind of have to figure out, how you're going to set it up. And these ones aren't uniform, they're rectangulars and square as well. So you kind of have to watch out, are these going to line up? And I bought these without thinking about that, but it turns out I'm going to be able to get them to fit nicely. So what I've done is I've lined them up on the outside. So you line them up and then you make sure that they're basically the right height. And then when you carry this over, you have this one, so I marked off where that one goes. Mark it off again over here. Mark it off over here. And then it lines up so that I'm going to have to pull one row off. So after I cut this across here, I have to pull one row off, which is not a big deal, right? So that's it. Mainly do your prep setup first, get your tiles ready so that you know exactly where they're going to go and have them all lined up, and then pre-cut your top and bottom to fit and match those. So the bottom ones I'm going to have them are going to be a little bit longer than the 3 inches, and I'm going to do a bit of a subfloor here. So I'm going to put the tile all the way down, and then where the subfloor ends up, the subfloor ends up. It's not a big deal. Alright, so that's step 1, layout. Here we are. So now I'm going to cut the tiles with my wet saw. I've already measured the 3 inches or whatever they are, and we're going to cut them this way across. So get this fired up. Now to cut these ones lengthwise, since they're all in a row, it's really easy. What you do is, see the mesh tape on the back? All you do is cut through that mesh tape, and you don't even have to do it from the back. You can do it from the front. You just take your knife and just run it all the way down, and then cut it, and they peel right back. Alright? Super simple. Alright. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the thin set, and I bought just a small box of thin set, and this one is Megalite Ultimate Performance Mortar. It is white because I'm using glass around the fireplace for the surround. I'm going to use some white so that the glass isn't gray looking, so it'll be nice and brilliant white, I guess, through some of it. So something that you got to consider when you're doing that, what your backing is for if you have see-through things like the glass or whatnot. So yeah, so some of them are glass and they're lighter colored, so I want to differentiate them from the aluminum and stuff that's on it. Alright, so this stuff says that you need 800 milliliters of water for the package. So this is the bag that it comes in. So I'm going to put that in the bucket. I've got 800 milliliters here, which is 1.7 pints. Basically, after you mix it, it's supposed to look like the thickness of, say, peanut butter. Yeah. Not Play-Doh, but peanut butter. It's a big difference. So anyway, and then so you're supposed to mix it for 2 to 5 minutes, let it rest for 5 minutes to 10 minutes, and then give it another quick stir. So anyway, we're going to mix it up. So I'm going to put this in the bucket. Okay. So I'll put this in the bucket. Once again, this stuff is just like everything. You don't want to breathe it in, so I'm not going to wear a mask, but I'm going to do this outside my garage. Put it in gently, don't make a lot of dust. So approximately 800 milliliters. So I'm going to pour some of that in now. I'll hold back just a touch. I'll bring it over here. Alright, so we're going to mix this up. My big D-handle drill. Now I'm going to put a little more water in it. Finish that off. That should do it. All right, so like peanut butter, it's kind of neat. So basically that thick. All right, so now we do the final mix, which is just a quick mix here. And there's always some leftover, so you want to wash that off. So quarter by quarter trowel, I guess. And so what we're going to do is we're going to rake this like so on a 45. So I'm going to get extra mud on it first, and then with that we'll rake it down. Okay, and when you run out, you can just take that and move it over here. So I'm going to rake this one out this way. Now I'm standing in front of the camera, but okay. I rake it all the way through. Okay. And then we'll put some more on. All right, so now that that's all done, we'll start with this. Now I know I have one extra row, so I'm going to cut off my extra row here. And that one is going to go here. So we're going to push this in all the way. Oops. Okay. And we'll move along. Remember to try to make your gap the same size. So I'll put all these in here. And then this one here should line up perfectly. No, not quite. Not quite perfectly, so I'll move it over a touch. And move this one over a touch. And try to make it as even as possible so it looks good. Okay. Now, I'm just going to use my grout float and just push up against these so that I know that they're all in, all the way. Okay, those ones are good. So, and we'll just all the way down. That's that. That's what it looks like. Alright, so now what we're going to do is mix the grout. And I've picked up, it's called Poly Blend. It's non-sanded grout. The reason that you would use sanded grout is when you have like a thicker grout line. So you have a larger gap between your tiles. And if you're walking on it, and if you have little thin gaps and you're not walking on it, the non-sanded is the way to go. So heavy traffic, big gaps equals sanded, and little gaps, no traffic really, is unsanded. So you can, when you go in, if you have a question, just ask the guys at the home center. They're very helpful and they'll help you out. So basically, this mix is the same as the thinset. You want it to be about the thickness of peanut butter. This is a big box, way bigger than I need. I'm mixing about half of it, which is probably still more than I need. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to mix that up. I can add. Oh, way too much water. I should have measured that. Way too much water. Looks like I'll be making way more than I really need, but it's the consistency that matters. So that's the important thing. This is why it's good to measure, so you don't end up mixing more than you need. Or just add your water slowly. Alright, so you're supposed to wait 10 minutes, not 5. And remix it. All right. So now what you're going to do is you're going to use your grout float. You're going to grab some grout And you're gonna squeeze it into the joints. Okay. You're gonna work it in. Oops. So you want to work it like up and down and side to side sort of thing. Make sure that it all goes into those joints. Alright, so you wait 10 to 20 minutes, get a bucket of water and a grout sponge, and then you soak your sponge and really squeeze the water out. Like really wring it out like this. And then you're going to start to wipe this stuff off with the sponge. It's going to take a little while. And normally if I was on a floor I would have more water on it, but I don't want this getting all over the fireplace, so it's going to take me a little while longer to draw it all off. And then rinse your sponge. And just keep going back and forth. You start to see how nice it is there. You don't want to dig in too deep. You just want to bring it over the top. If you go in too deep, you'll pull the grout out of this. So just take your time. Alright, so there's going to be a little haze on this still. Some marks. Don't worry about that. You'll come back and do that one more time with a damp sponge. Make it really lightly damp this time. And then you'll just wipe it down again after, and I'll show you that. Alright, so what I've done is I've waited a couple hours after the first time that I washed this off. And now we're just going to go over it again. So I've already cleaned this section. I've cleaned part of this, and this part here is quite dirty still. So you go over it, give it a good scrub, and if you see any spots like this where it's caked on still, you can scratch that off, or you can just rub it off. It usually comes off at the tile faces, and it just stays in between the tiles, right? So give it now a good scrub, and make sure you get all little bits off, right? So all those, and you can go over it. See, there's little spots here and there. You got to make sure that you get all those off. They can come off later. They won't stay, but it just makes it nice. Right. And go up and down and do your whole thing and give it a good scrub, and just rinse it off a couple of times. Rinse your sponge off a few times. So after it's clean, give it another once over a couple of times, back and forth, right? A couple of rinses, and then later on you'll go over it with like a say a paper towel, water in a paper towel, and just take the last of the film off. So right now you're getting the last of the grout off of the tiles, basically off of the faces, and then there'll be another little bit of haze left on it. So, and then you just want to remove that haze, and you can use like paper towels or cheesecloth or whatever. But yeah, I just use paper towels. Anyway, that's it. So anyway, this is the tile portion. Later on, I'm going to put the frame around the Clover. Quiet. I'm going to put the frame around the mantle, right? And then before I do that, I want to finish the floor, because the mantle has to run all the way down to the floor. And it'll be easier to do this after I do the floor than to try to squeeze the floor underneath it, and that'll be a mess and really difficult. And this way it's much simpler, so that's what I'm going to do. Right now what I'm going to do is just post this video as part of it, and then later on you'll see more of my basement as it's finished when I do the mantle. Alright, so this could be like part 1 of 2 or whatever. Alright, anyway, thanks for watching.